Today we're going to discuss Marvel's third installation in the Iron Man Trilogy. Now, unfortunately, this one was not directed by Jon Favreau, as the previous two were, but was instead directed and written by Shane Black. I must say, this was quite apparent.
Iron Man 2 certainly was not perfect either, but it was nothing compared to the mess that Mr. Black made with this film.
Hij was niet zo goed als Jon Favreau. He ruined Iron Man for me in this film.
Yep, I definitely thought this movie was lame compared to the other two Iron Mans, as well as Iron Man and Avengers.
Well, let's talk about Iron Man himself first. A major problem with this movie, just as I stated in the Dark Knight Rises critique, is that it fails to produce a superhero movie with the titular superhero actually in it.
This is becoming an annoyingly popular trait in superhero movies these days, it seems. They keep making the hero normal and boring, instead of super, for the most of the film, and only show him in costume exhibiting powers for like 10 minutes here and there.
Agreed. This film was no exception. Tony Stark crashes his rubbish suit in the middle of nowhere and stays as Tony Stark for half the film.
I do not understand how he lost power. Why would his suit not have capable of charging through his chest piece?
There are claims that he couldn't do this because the suit was a prototype. This is simply blasphemy when Tony Stark is involved, however. If he can find a way to charge his suit with a car battery, then he certainly can find a way to use his arc reactor in his chest.
It was just a dumb story plot ploy to give a reason to make us suffer through half of the movie without an Iron Man. But I think we're missing some earlier problems with this terrible film. Prior to that part, Tony is shown having a ton of Iron Man suits at his disposal. We learn near the end that these suits all have AI, all are completely functional, and all are even remote controllable. Yet for some pointless reason, when Tony picks a fight with the Mandarin, he just sits on his couch with no plan of attack or defense. Well, no wonder they blew up his house. He didn't do anything to stop them after calling them out. I mean, seriously, who walks up to a bully and says, "Come on, let's fight," then literally just stands there with his arms at his sides and waits to get punched in the face? Dumber than all get up.
Well, Tony was too busy having anxiety attacks to think about his actions. Right. Who doesn't love a superhero who only exhibits the power of panic? Great stuff, that.
I did not like how his suits went kaput so easily in this movie. His suits handled much more punishment in the other films than this one. His prototype suit was no good, and even at the end, Aldrich Killian chops through his better ones like they are nothing.
The Iron Man suits definitely lost their durability in this film. Even the Iron Patriot, former War Machine, took a single simple blow to completely deactivate. The other huge problem with his suits in this film pertained to the sudden lack of security. It seems as if anyone and everyone easily could control them. Killian's guy wears one without a problem at one point. The President was in one. Pepper Potts was in one. They definitely felt a lot less exclusive this time around.
I was simply irritated by Tony's random desire to put himself in unnecessary harm. There were many parts in this film where he uses a pistol or MacGyver weapon instead of an Iron Man suit, basically leaving himself completely exposed. That certainly wouldn't put someone with anxiety issues over the edge, now would it?
Yep, the end of the film showed that all his suits were completely intact, functioning, and able to be remote controlled. So why in Sam hell didn't he just send one of them over to his location to use while charging that dumb Mark 42? Each Iron Man movie showed him coming up with and using new and better Iron Man suits to fight with. The only thing this suit did was fall apart really easy, lack proper power or weapons, and lose power all the time. Wowee, that sure is a cool suit to comprise most of the movie with. Don't know how it could get any better than that.
I did not understand Killian's reasons for being a villain. Obadiah Stane in Iron Man 1 and Ivan Vankel in Iron Man 2 were explained very well.
Basically, Aldrich Killian was stood up on a date with Tony Stark 1,000,000 years ago, and that made him want to kill the president and take over the world. What's so hard to understand about that?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I gathered from it. Killian had wanted to have Stark perfect his extremis formula. Now, it's not hard to assume that Stark wouldn't be Killian's only attempt to find aid. He had to predict that there was going to be a few no's when seeking help from others.
Look at Colonel Hartwin Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He got 1,009 no's of rejection before he finally got his first yes to start his restaurant. I don't think he tried to kill the president and take the world over after his first rejection. Well, actually, I guess you could say he sort of did with his chicken. Finger looking good.
I personally did not think the comedy in this movie was as good as the others. I laughed at the quick-witted comments of Tony Stark in all of his other renditions, but the cheap slapstick humor in this one left me more annoyed than humored.
I would like to address the elephant in the room. I know you all know what I'm talking about. The Mandarin. Simply put, it was absolutely intolerable and, quite frankly, a stupid plot twist. Once again, this superhero movie fails like The Dark Knight Rises, as it fails to produce the supervillain it promises. In fact, it really wasn't much of a twist. It was basically a terrible rehash of the first film. A white-collar businessman pretending to work with Stark Enterprises is really the villain hiding behind a Middle Eastern terrorist group.
True, the terrorist organization in the first film was even named the 10 Rings, which is a direct correlation to the Mandarin. Once again, the Mandarin was nothing more than a fake terrorist group concealing the true scoundrel, a white businessman who has dealings with Stark Enterprises.
De muziek in deze film was verschrikkelijk. De eerste 2 films deden het veel beter.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. The music in this film was a snore fest. The first 2 had AC/DC music plus excellent scores that really energized the action parts. Heck, even the parts where Tony was in his garage inventing something, it had cool music. This one had nothing but like 80s throwback music and was completely dull.
The music score definitely left something to be desired in comparison with its predecessors. However, the entire ending of this film was the true rubbish of this film. Tony and Rhodey are equipped with pistols to infiltrate Killian's base of operations when they could have easily worn one of Tony's 50 Iron Man suits just waiting to be used. Each of these suits in question proceeds to be cut like butter by Killian once they are actually deployed, yet one was able to take on an entire alien armada in the Avengers, and another is supposed to be able to contend with the ludicrously overpowered Incredible Hulk, known as the Hulkbuster suit. Pepper Potts turns into a crossbreed between Wolverine and the Human Torch and has to save the apparently incapable Tony Stark from Killian. And Tony Stark then proceeds to foolishly destroy billions of dollars worth of Iron Man suits, thus eliminating the one thing protecting him from another invasion, which is the notion at the heart of what is causing his anxiety. Problem, anyone?
Then he says, "Psych everyone about the previous Iron Man movies. I really can remove the shrapnel and art reactor from my chest. Really easily, it seems, in the ending of the montage narrative. Then I fix and remove Pepper Potts' superpowers as easy as scratching my butt. Now that I'm normal, boring, and retired, maybe I'll meet normal, boring, and retired Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle from The Dark Knight Rises."
So to summarize the major issues in Iron Man 3, we have Number 1. A lack of Iron Man in an Iron Man movie. Instead, we get anxiety Tony Stark for half the movie. Number 2. The Iron Man suits are very flimsy and lack any sort of security and are quite weak in comparison, actually, to every other Iron Man suit outside of this particular film. The final fight scene plows through them like they're made of nothing. Number 3. Cheesy slapstick comedy that simply isn't that funny. It is certainly below the quality of the previous films. Number 4. The fake Mandarin was a ridiculously stupid plot twist and basically a ripoff of the first movie's storyline, even down to the Middle Eastern Ten-Ring/Mandarin terrorist front. It ruined one of the most well-known and impressive Iron Man villains for a quick laugh. Number 5. Tony Stark has more than 40 fully AI weaponized remote-controlled Iron Man suits at his disposal and instead decides to waste all of his time with a prototype suit that runs out of power, has no weapons, and falls apart quite easily throughout the entire film. This completely undercuts the mid-film tensions that supposedly forced him to be suitless for 70% of the time. Many of his near-death sequences could have easily been avoided. Number 6. Rhodey's suit sucked big time. It couldn't take a hit and was easily controlled by the villain. Number 7. Aldrich Killian's character lacked proper story development and had no reasoning behind his motives for world domination. Sorry, but being stood up on a date by Tony Stark back in 1999 isn't quite good enough. Number 8. The music was boring, especially juxtaposed with Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 scores that were phenomenal. Number 9. Tony Stark picks a fight, then does nothing to thwart the impending attack. It wasn't a surprise attack. He had plenty of time and resources to come up with anything better than what he did, which was nothing. Number 10. It had an abhorrent ending. Tony blows up billions of dollars of Iron Man suits and removes the shrapnel and arc reactor in his chest with ease despite the impossibility prior to this film, then cures Pepper Potts of her superpowers at the wave of a hand. In conclusion, Iron Man 3 failed in its mission to surpass or even maintain the quality of the previous Iron Man films. In fact, it potentially corrupts the future of Iron Man by removing all interesting elements of his life. Well, if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Coalition of EC. The channel name is Coalition of EC.
We hope to bring out a new video about every month, so keep your eyes peeled for them.
Like us here on YouTube and leave your comments down below.
If you liked this episode, head on over to our other videos and don't forget to look at our Facebook page.
And remember, the Coalition of Entertainment Connoisseurs.